Hello, Riderflex Nation. Steve Urban here. Career advice today, and the podcast topic is how do you handle employees that won't follow directions? I developed a method or a style or a pattern, I guess, over the years on how I would handle employees that didn't follow direction. I want to share that with you. Maybe it'll help you. Keep in mind, every organization has, well, most mid-sized to large organizations, they have, human resource departments and policies and rules, and some of you may be held to those, and you may not be able to follow my advice here. So obviously, double check yourself and make sure you're not putting yourself in harm's way with your own human resource department on how to handle employee behaviors or employee performance. But here's my advice. I still follow this today for the most part, and I would encourage you to take some notes here, and if you don't use the method exactly as I'm describing it, maybe there's some form of it you can use to coach employees who just won't follow your direction. You can't get them to do what you're asking. So we'll take the following example. Let's say Bobby works for me, and I've said to him on several occasions, not only in verbal coaching, but in some written training, I've said, Bobby, it's really important that you make sure every day that you're putting 50 shopping bags on each hook at the end of the grocery checkout. I just made that up, by the way. Or whatever it is you're asking the employee to do. But let's use that example. Bobby, listen, can you just every day before you leave, I need you to hang 50 grocery bags on the hooks at the end of each grocery checkout counter. He was trained that way in the beginning, not only verbally, but through some written documentation where we had a training checklist that he signed off on. Now, a couple of times I've walked by the stations at the beginning of the day, and I noticed that the bags only have, the hooks only have 25 bags, not 50. So I go up to Bobby and I say, Bobby, hey, I noticed that, the hooks only have 25 bags, not 50. What's the deal? Bobby makes up some sort of excuse. I remind him of what we're trying to accomplish and what our goal is and what he needs to do, what he needs to execute. And the next day I come in and it's the same thing. This time I bring Bobby to the back room, and even before any standard human resource write-up policy or whatever form your company wants you to use, before you do all of that, here's the conversation I used to have. I'd say, Bobby, I want to ask you a question here, and it's going to be a multiple choice question. Okay, I want you to pick A, B, C, or D. Okay, here it is. Did you not put 50 bags on each hook because A, my communication was just terrible? I just poorly communicated. So was it A, my communication? Or B, do you not have the aptitude to understand what I'm asking you to do? Or C, are you not organized enough with your day, with your tactical to-do list? Are you not organized enough to remember to do it? And D, did you just simply choose not to do it? Because it's really A, B, C, or D, right? You either I communicated poorly, A, or B, you're just not smart enough to understand what I'm asking you to do, or C, you're not organized enough to make sure you do it, or D, you're choosing not to follow direction, right? It's A, B, C, or D, right? It's one of those. Folks, try that on employees that aren't following your direction. Ask them, just say, you know what? It's multiple choice. Pick A, B, C, or D. Which one is it? Let's help each other here. Almost, I would guess 75 to 80% of the time, they choose D. They actually admit that they are making a conscious choice not to follow the direction. You know why they choose D? Because they don't want to admit that your communication was terrible, or they don't want to say that. They don't want to admit that they don't have the brain power to understand what you're asking them to do, so they don't pick B. They usually don't admit that they have poor organizational skills, which, by the way, that's probably what it is most of the time, but they don't pick C. So often they pick D. They'll say, I just didn't want to do it, or I just kind of chose not to do it. I'm sorry. That's what they'll say. Probably 80% of the time. They'll tell you it's D. They chose not to do it. Boom, you got them. Because then you look right at them and you say, well, thank you for clarifying that. And now just let me clarify for you that if it is D, then it means you can't work here. Because to work here, you have to follow direction. And if you can't follow direction, you can't work here. It's as simple as that. So do you want to work here or not? And then they give you that deer in the headlight look. Maybe they start sweating a little bit. The point is, folks, all joking aside, make them pick, make them choose. And when they tell you that they selected D because they just didn't want to follow direction, you can remind them that they can't work for you if they can't follow direction. Now, some human resource people are going to listen to this podcast, and they're going to call in, they're going to email me with all the rules and blah, blah, blah. I was an operations guy, not a human resource guy, so I'm sure I'm breaking all kinds of big company human resource rules. But I'll tell you, over the years, that method worked for me. It was great. Quite often, it would weed people out very, very fast because they knew that they had to follow direction to work on my team. Or if it didn't weed them out, it would correct them pretty quick. And so I recommend that, folks. A, B, C, or D. Make them choose. Was it your communication? Did they not have the brain power to understand what you're asking them to do? Their aptitude is off? Are they just not organized? Or are they simply choosing not to follow direction? It's A, B, C, or D. There you go, folks. And there is your Riderflex tip of the day. As always, you can call in, email, ask us questions. We'll help you in any way we can. Our podcast can be heard just about anywhere these days. Folks, visit riderflex.com to learn more about us. Thanks a lot for listening, and have a wonderful day.